Welcome to Bible by the Fire in DAYZ, where we study the Bible by a fire in DAYZ. This channel is out of control. We play survival games Monday through Friday, heck, even on Saturday. But Sunday, we set aside time to study the Bible together. I'm glad each and every one of you are here. We'll be in Luke chapter 18, verses 9 through 14. And this fire is actually up on the crash site building in Cherno. My guy Java, some of the others had to help him, but they built structure so we could get all the way up here. It's super cool. I've never been up here before. This is on my private server. Some of the fires are on public servers, and we're kind of having lookouts so we don't get shot and all. But this one is on a private server, and like I said, I got some exciting news about private server that you're all invited to when the new map comes out. But let's dive right in. I always like to start with a story of some sort, and this story is more in the category of legend. Hard to determine whether it is actually true or not, but legend has it that the painting of the Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci has a very interesting point of history to it that many people don't know. Well, da Vinci started painting this thing in 1495 and wrapped it up in about 1498. It took him over 3 years to paint this. And a part of the process was selecting the model for Jesus and each of the disciples, who he would use to be the model for each of his characters. And Jesus was the first one he selected to paint. And he searched all over for someone who looked innocent, someone who looked caring, someone who looked loving, someone who looked pure, yet had a heart full of life and vibrance. And he found the perfect model, and he painted Jesus. On down the line, he painted all the disciples, and the last one he painted was Judas Iscariot. And for Judas, he wanted someone who looked cunning, someone who looked diabolical, someone who looked even criminal, someone who looked rough and rugged, someone who looked fairly intimidating. And he searched the areas where heavy drinking was involved. He searched the alleys and the places where those who were down and out were. He even searched the jails. And in one of the jails, he found the perfect face. And he proceeded to paint the last person in the Last Supper, Judas. Come to find out, the model he selected for Jesus and the model he selected for Judas were the same man. That his life had hit such a bad turn, that his life was going the wrong direction when he met him, and by the time he circled back and found him 3 to 4 years later, his life was radically different. His demeanor was different. His look was different. The life that was in his heart was gone, and life had just beat him down. And that's the point today, is that in life, direction is more important than position. That the direction you're heading is more important than the position that you're in. And that is both encouraging to some and challenging to some. It's challenging to someone like me, who I really gave my life to the Lord and got serious with my faith in 1998, in the late 1900s. And I've been in so many Bible studies and Bible school, and I've taught so much Bible, read so much Bible, been on mission trips, that I need to make sure that even though with my decades of experience, and there are some with decades beyond me, that I'm still going the right direction. And there are others who are climbing themselves out of a deep, dark hole of addiction, of depression, of brokenness, and lost family and things of that nature, but they're heading the right direction. Direction is more important than position. And here's where we find this in the Bible. Luke chapter 18, verse 9, Jesus said, "To some who are confident in their own righteousness and look down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, a Pharisee and a tax collector." Now it's setting up like a joke, like a man walked into a bar and said, "Ouch," right? 2 men went to the temple to pray, a Pharisee and a tax collector. The people he was telling this to would assume the Pharisee was the good guy and the tax collector is terrible. They hated those dudes. In verse 11, he says, "The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, 'God, I thank you that I'm not like the other people, the robbers, the evildoers, the adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get.'" So this man right here, obviously a chump, separating himself from everybody else, feeling better than everybody else. He's a Pharisee. He's well trained. He knows the scriptures. He's able to teach. He is in good standing in the community, but his heart is heading the wrong direction. He's in a great position, but he's going the wrong direction. And for some of you today, that might be the challenge is, you know what, I've known these things for a while, but I've been sliding the wrong direction. We call that backsliding. Direction is more important than position. And then you got this tax collector in verse 13, known to be scoundrels and sellouts, hated by the people. Tax collectors and sinners was a phrase, because tax collectors were synonymous with sinful living, not coming from a good place, but he's heading the right direction. Verse 13, but the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven. He beat his chest and said, have mercy on me, I'm a sinner. Jesus said, I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So we have two men in our parable today. One in a good position, in a righteous position, in a respected position, but his heart is moving the wrong direction. That's not good. The other is in a bad position. He's from a position of sin and darkness and debauchery, but his heart is broken and humble before God, and he's calling out to God for forgiveness. He is heading the right direction. What direction is your life heading? Direction is more important than position. We always need to be looking up at the cross and growing in our faith and staying humble and staying hungry for more of God. That tax collector was humble. His head was down because he was a humble person. He was hitting his chest because he was hungry. He knew he had a need. That's why the Beatitudes in Matthew 5:3 says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Poor in spirit, what does that mean? Poverty of spirit. Someone who knows they have a deep, deep spiritual need in their life that they can only meet by reaching out to God. They know that there's a spiritual poverty and they need God. Those people are blessed because they inherit the kingdom of heaven. But the first man, in good standing but going the wrong direction. The second man, in a bad position in life but heading the right direction. For people like me, I need to make sure that when I have the opportunity to pray with a homeless guy, and there are plenty where I live, that I take time not to belittle them or assume the worst about them. And they do some pretty bad things. I mean, these guys are responsible for a lot of bad things that happen. But I need to look each one of them in the eye as if they are a human being, a child of God, and give them the opportunity to connect with another human being and just see where the conversation goes. I can't take hours and hours and hours unless one of them opened up for hours and hours, but I need to be willing and humble to keep connecting like that. I need to be willing to listen to the stories of a widow, like at church on a Wednesday night. We have our prayer meeting, and just last night or the other night this week, I just sat and listened to this lady. I just introduced myself, and she just was a volcano erupting of a person needing to talk. Right? I need to make sure that I'm heading the right direction, that I don't think I'm better than others because I know more, because I've made good decisions, because my life is built on a firm foundation. I need to keep that humble spirit and that hunger for more of God and that desire to connect and help others along the way, and realize that I'm poor in spirit, that I need God. Because otherwise, even though I'm standing on a good foundation, I could be heading the wrong direction. I need to make sure I stay on top of that. And then there are others, like my buddy. I told you about him a few weeks back on one of these, where he's getting his life together, man. Like, he's been in prison more than out of prison the last 10 years. And he went to pay his final legal fees at the court, and he realized when he went there, one more stinking warrant for his arrest. He thought he was done. He was reconnecting with his 2-year-old little boy. He was lining up a job. He was in church. He was lifting his hands in worship, going forward to pray. He was making friends with the brothers at church, and doing all the right things and heading the right direction, and then find out, I have another warrant. I could be going back. We prayed with him. We fasted for him. We stood with him, told him, this isn't going away, man. You need to face it. And he faced it, and the whole time he's texting me, God's got me. God's got me. It's going to be all right. God's got me. And just this week, he went in to his appointed time. He went and told him there's this warrant. They said, come back this day. He went back that day. Long story short, all charges dropped, everything dismissed. He's an absolute free man. Why do I tell you that story? Because he's coming from a deep, dark place, a 10-year hole in his life, but he's going the right direction. So for those of you that feel like you're in a deep, dark hole, in a bad place, you're coming from behind, be encouraged today that your direction is so more important than your position, that God sees you. He saw that tax collector. He said, that one is justified. That one right there, he's got it right. He's heading the right direction. And for those of us who are a little more established, we need to always remember that we need to keep moving forward, because it's easy to get comfortable. It's easy to get self-righteous. It's easy to get self-reliant and then start sliding the wrong direction. So I hope this message finds you well. The announcement is the sauce server when Sakal comes out. We will have the main island for PvE and base building, the surrounding islands for PvP, and an ongoing game of Capture the Flag. Just type in sauce on your Xbox servers for the community servers. The password is sauce with a capital S 777. You can log in now. It's a pretty much dead Cherno server, but as soon as we can get that other map, it'll be up and running, and you're all invited. All right, there's a whole bunch of episodes. I think this is episode 24, so if you want to listen to the rest, please binge and listen to them now. Thanks, God bless, and we're going to keep gaming straight through the apocalypse.